Greetings sailors, and welcome to a quick editorial video about summer tokens, because yeah, Wargaming screwed up again, who knew. This time round it appears to have been a genuine error, and I know there are people out there that feel that it wasn't, but unlike the Christmas container situation with the deliberate omission of information from news articles that had been in previous news articles, this time round it really does seem like it was just a screw up, and the nature of the screw up is that all of their copy, everything that goes into the game, the portal, gets written in Russian initially, which is then translated into English, and then every other language is translated from English. So if you screw up that initial translation from Russian to English, everything else gets screwed up as well, and that's exactly what happened in such a way as to imply that you were going to get a guaranteed perma-camo from these boxes rather than a guarantee of one thing or a perma-camo. So essentially, yes, translation error, and the fact that there is this single point of failure that can have a big enough effect to the point where, I mean, I haven't looked this up specifically, but I'm pretty sure changing the description of something that fundamentally, if it's done maliciously, on purpose, would constitute a breach of consumer law in many countries. And the fact that it's been done accidentally, I mean, I don't know if it makes it really that much better, but I am willing to believe at least that it wasn't the intent for it to happen that way. I mean, you can look at the fact that the original Russian did not put it that way versus the English and all the other translations that did put it that way. So we at least, you know, have proof for this time, I suppose, that Wargaming does exactly mean what they say when they say they screwed it up, although they didn't say it in those exact words. So yeah, bit of a problem there, and it's not the first time we've had these kind of errors, and I suppose the fact that they are dealing with many different languages on a daily basis when they're putting out articles and information and adding stuff to the game and whatever, means that maybe okay, they get a little bit more leeway in terms of there's obviously a much bigger scope for these kind of accidents to happen, but at the same time that's the kind of thing that you identify and go, alright, we're going to have measures in place to stop that, we're going to have appropriate error checking, which apparently they don't have. I mean, who was it, Painzor or Yusrul or someone in the Discord made the suggestion of, well, why don't you just get one of the English language speaking offices to take a look over and just to check the meaning matches up with what you want the meaning to say, because that doesn't appear like a thing they do at the moment. I mean, this is pure speculation, but I'm guessing what happens at the moment is that somebody with English as a second language translates these things, and you know, that obviously then means there's perhaps more scope for things to go wrong. But of course, the person who is doing the translating, who's looking at the Russian versus the English and seeing if they match up, well, they have to understand both languages. So it's not like it's a super easy thing there's a fix for, but it seems like certainly a thing that Wargaming should have processes in place to prevent even when it's something important like this. I mean, I'm sure there's smaller errors that happen all the time that don't have any kind of significance in this way, but in this case it did, because it fundamentally changed the meaning of a thing you could buy and pay actual money for. Well, but pay money for the doubloons and then buy the crates, I suppose, is, you know, what pay money for at one remove. But yeah, so that wasn't so good, Wargaming, really, but they are basically giving refunds to anybody that has spent doubloons on these and wants their money back because they feel they were misled. They bought the thing under a different premise than the actual thing was. So they're not quibbling about that, at least. I think that's the absolute right response. But yeah, it would be nice to hear something from Wargaming in terms of what they plan to do to stop this kind of thing happening in future. Because when you do something that even inadvertently breaches consumer law, that's kind of a big no-no. So that's really all I had to say. I just wanted to do something addressing it, and I know the background footage is not the most exciting, it's just a random op that I had, but yeah, I felt like it'd be better than just the Marching Tog wallpaper. And hey, it also gives me a chance to go, hey Wargaming, when are we getting more operations back? Because, you know, we'll never stop poking them about that. I'm sure TC Freer in particular won't stop poking them about that, just because he does particularly enjoy them. And, you know, if you want to hear more about his thoughts on that, here's me doing a bit of linking in, you can go and listen to the episode of the CC podcast that he was on, where we had a fairly substantial chat about that particular topic. So that's it for this particular video. It's been a bit light in terms of content this week generally, just because, I mean, you know, mental health stuff. And as an aside, you know, this is I should be wrapping up the video here, but really, this is something that's been on my mind this week. It's been interesting with the Olympics that we've got this major public event where actually mental health stuff being taken seriously, at least by, you know, the people that matter. And so that's been kind of interesting to see, this major public event where mental health issues are being given equal footing to physical injury issues as to why an athlete might not feel able or be able to perform. So yeah, anyway, that's a completely random thing, but that has just been why this last week has been a bit blur. I in particular have actually upped, and I think I talked about this or mentioned it in a previous video, about upping my dosage of the antidepressants that I'm on. So that was actually last weekend I started that, and that is always a bit of a process of upping dosages of drugs, or even, I mean, it's not as bad as starting new drugs entirely, which can put you off for weeks and weeks. I'm sure people remember that when I was actually going on the antidepressants, which is a while ago now. But yeah, even just an increase in dosage can throw you off for a couple of days in terms of feeling weird. So that's kind of what's happened this week. But yeah, hopefully this next week should be a bit better, because things are a bit more settled now, and hopefully the increase in dosage actually does some good. Anyway, I should stop getting sidetracked when I'm trying to end videos. So yes, hopefully you found this video informative, and if you did, you can do all the usual things down underneath it. And of course, as always, stay tuned for more.